Welcome to the Grief Guardian podcast. I am your host, Grant Cosgrove. During this podcast series, I will be guiding you through the hardest journey, life after losing a loved one, empowering resilience, healing, and hope, one step at a time. Today's episode is different. It's one I've sat with for a while, and to be honest, it's one of the harder kinds of grief to talk about. We're not talking about the death of a child, but the loss of a connection with your child, specifically when a child becomes non-verbal due to autism. This isn't a type of grief you'll always hear about. It doesn't come with sympathy cards or casseroles. There's no ceremony, but the pain is very real. Let's get clear on what this grief actually is. When a child becomes non-verbal, whether slowly or suddenly, parents often feel like they've lost the relationship they once had. The conversations, the I love you, the jokes, the back and forth, the spontaneous chats in the car. But the child is still there. They're breathing, growing, living, which means your grief doesn't have a clear ending. You're living in a state of ambiguous loss. That's the term for it, ambiguous grief. When someone you love is physically present, but psychologically changed. This grief doesn't get much space in our culture. What are the signs and symptoms of ambiguous grief? What does this kind of grief feel like? You might feel confused, like, why am I grieving when my child is still here? There's often guilt. You love your child, but you miss the version of them who could talk to you. You might feel isolated, like no one really gets what you're going through. And there's usually a sense of perpetual loss. Every missed milestone is another reminder. This grief isn't about not accepting your child. It's about missing what was and what might never be. What are the causes of ambiguous grief? This grief can be triggered by regression, when a child who used to speak stops speaking, a late autism diagnosis that rewrites the story you thought you were living, realizing your dreams and expectations might need to shift drastically. It's not autism itself that causes the grief. It's the loss of connection, communication, and imagined futures. What are the impacts of ambiguous grief? This grief can impact parent-child relationships, especially when you're trying to connect with a child who can't respond. Your sense of identity as a parent, you might feel helpless or like you're failing. Marriages or co-parenting dynamics as partners grieve differently. And definitely your mental health, especially when there's no clear way to fix it. What are some coping strategies for healing? Now let's talk about what helps. Name the grief. Ambiguous loss. Say it. It helps. Drop the shame. You're allowed to love your child and still grieve. Find community. Other parents dealing with similar experiences. Create new ways to connect. Communication doesn't only happen through speech. Connect through eye contact, hugs, games, and silence. Therapy, especially with someone who understands ambiguous grief. Keep talking. Even if they can't answer, the bond is still there. It's just changed shape. Grief isn't always about death. Sometimes it's about losing the version of someone you loved and learning to love them in a new way. If you're a parent going through this, you're not alone, and your grief is real, even if the world doesn't always see it. Thanks for listening to this very personal episode. If this connected with you, or if you know someone who needs to hear it, share it. And if you want to reach out, I'd love to hear your story. If you enjoyed this content, please follow me on my socials. You can find me on Facebook as The Grief Guardian and on Instagram as Grant_A_Cosgrove or by searching for The Grief Guardian. I'll include the links in the show notes. Feel free to reach out and connect with me or leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and questions. Are there any topics you'd like me to cover?